If you have ADHD and you struggle with burnout, you need to watch this video. Welcome to the channel. Hi, I'm Simon, and today we are talking about ADHD and burnout. If you have ADHD, then chances are you know what it's like to have a million thoughts going on in your head all at once. At first this can feel a little exhilarating, if not a little chaotic. There's often a brief shimmering moment where you feel like you have it all together. You might actually feel accomplished with everything that you have on your plate, even if that voice in the back of your head tells you that you can't do all of this. But as you frantically try to keep it all together, eventually something falls short. This is when things start to fall apart. Any systems that you had in place start to fall apart. Tasks that were important at the start to feel less important and even forgotten about. For me, during COVID, I picked up a load of new hobbies and interests, and I tried to do them all at once, ultimately leading to abandoning them all due to burnout. Your memory begins to go, your deadlines pile up to impossible heights, your boss starts to ask about your careless mistakes, and your friends end up wondering where you are, because they haven't heard from you in weeks. The shame can be excruciating. What begins in overwhelm can lead to total exhaustion. As your job is affected, and your social life, and your home life, you can be left wondering how it all got away from you. So ADHD burnout happens when we overcompensate, overcommit, feel guilt for resting, and struggle to recognize limits and boundaries. People with ADHD may experience burnout from childhood experiences of neurotypical expectations without proper support. We can prevent ADHD burnout by affirming self-worth, practice saying no without guilt or apologizing. So what is ADHD burnout? It's possible you've heard of autistic burnout, but ADHDers experience a unique burnout. And this could look like lack of motion, guilt, depression, anxiety, poor productivity, and irritability. The overlap of symptoms can make it difficult to identify when ADHDers are truly struggling with burnout though. ADHD burnout is oftentimes something a little deeper. It refers to the cycle of overcommitting and overextending that leads to fatigue in ADHDers. It involves taking on too many tasks and commitments, and then the exhaustion that happens when we ultimately can't fulfill all of our obligations. In other words, we often take on too much that we can't handle. In other words, we take on more than we can handle. Ever hear the saying, your eye is bigger than your belly? It's like that. But why is burnout so prevalent in our community especially? Here are 3 reasons why ADHDers struggle with burnout and how to fight it. Why do people with ADHD struggle with burnout? Well, there are many reasons why people with ADHD struggle with burnout, but here are the 3 top common causes. Number 1, you are overcompensating. Growing up, many ADHDers experienced the crushing weight of expectation. Whether it was from parents or teachers, we were often told we were not doing enough or even trying hard enough. It often felt like we were just shy of reaching our full potential, but in actuality, it was just us being asked to function like neurotypical children without any proper support. This is why many ADHDers may internalize that we were just lazy, careless, or unintelligent, when in fact none of this is true. These false beliefs can lead to overcompensation, in which we compulsively try to people please and to try and make up for the shortcomings we think we may have. This tendency we have to people please can continue on into adulthood and is a recipe for overexertion. It also makes admitting and asking for help difficult when we're struggling because of the fear of letting others down. I can't sit still. The relentless effort to appear neurotypical is known as masking or ADHD masking and can be a source of real fatigue in ADHDers. Number 2, we feel guilty for resting. When we're already fighting the stereotype of being lazy, many of us feel guilty about rest. It can feel easier to just keep going because it feels safer in doing something than the fear of judgment by not doing anything. ADHDers even might believe that if we allow ourselves to rest, we'll never do anything or we'll find it difficult to start again. The irony of this, of course, that if we deny ourselves rest, that is the quickest route to exhaustion and can heighten ADHD symptoms. But of course, it can be really difficult to hit the brakes and allow ourselves to rest when there are so many negatives associated with it. And after a lifetime of being told to do more or to try harder, it can feel impossible to try less and rest more. Number 3, we struggle to set boundaries and know our limits. Part of executive dysfunction means that we struggle with sequencing, initiating, and organizing our tasks, which are all symptoms of ADHD. It also means that we struggle to estimate how long a task will take, making it very easy to overcommit by accident. As people pleasers, we are discouraged from having boundaries and setting boundaries from a young age. We may struggle to say no for fears of disappointing others or being rejected, which is something we're already sensitive to anyway. This is known as RSD. As we take on more and more tasks, it can lead to being overwhelmed, and then comes the dreaded overwhelm shutdown. This is a freeze response that can happen when we're unable to start or complete a task. That stuck feeling can heighten our anxiety and make it difficult to move on. So how to avoid ADHD burnout? There are some rules for preventing burnout that may be crucial for ADHDers to remember. Rule number 1 is affirm your self-worth. Your worth is not dependent on what you can give people, and your sole purpose in life is not to make everyone but yourself happy. The saying, don't set yourself on fire to keep others warm, comes to mind. You are inherently valuable, regardless of how useful, helpful, or productive you are to others. Rule number 2 is practice saying no without apologizing. You can't be everything to everyone, and your capacity is not limitless, no matter what your brain tells you. So give yourself full permission to say no, I can't, I don't have time for that, or whatever variation works for you. You may disappoint someone, sure, but you are not responsible for managing someone else's emotions. And rule number 3 is overestimate how much time something will take. This is a rule that I find quite helpful in my... Are you still shooting? You are. Okay. So well, here are 3 reasons. What are the 3 reasons?